Lila, we need to talk about Lilith. What about Lilith? I've noticed that you don't seem to respect her very much. What are you talking about? You know exactly what I'm talking about. Do you look down on her because she didn't graduate high school? I do not. That's not true. I know you, Lila. The way you talk to her and treat her, something is off, and it's not okay. Lilith is my only family. Our parents passed away years ago. She's been there for me through everything. And if you can't respect her, then I don't think we can get married. John, you can't be serious. I didn't mean to offend you or Lilith. I just think that education is important. I know education is important, but Lilith has faced a lot of challenges in her life. She struggled with mental health issues and she has had to work hard just to get by. But she's still one of the most intelligent and compassionate people I know. And I won't stand for anyone disrespecting her. John, it's not that big of a deal, okay? Why don't you just relax? Lila, I need you to take this seriously. It's a big deal to me. Do you understand? My name is Lilith, and I'm a young author of fiction romance books. I have always been passionate about writing, and I'm grateful that I can make a living doing what I love. However, just a few years ago, things were very different for me. When I was in high school, my parents passed away in a tragic accident. I was devastated, and my whole world was turned upside down. I couldn't continue going to school. For the longest time, I was dealing with depression and declining mental health. I couldn't even write as much as I wanted to, because it was hard for me to enjoy anything at all. But in the midst of all that darkness, there was one thing that brought me joy. John, my big brother. John is 8 years older than me, and he became my caregiver after our parents' death. He took on the responsibility of raising me, and I'm forever grateful for everything he has done for me. We were each other's family, and we have always been really close. John was more than just a brother to me. He was also my friend and my protector. He would always make sure that I was safe and happy, even if it meant sacrificing his own needs and wants. Growing up, we had our fair share of struggles. We didn't have a lot of money, and John had to work multiple jobs just to make ends meet. As I got older, I started to realize just how much John had sacrificed for me. He had put his own dreams and ambitions on hold to take care of me. And I knew that I could never repay him for all that he had done. Luckily, he became a very successful marketer. He's also been really supportive of my dream of becoming a fiction writer. So I finally started writing again and taking classes to improve my skills. I promised myself that one day I'd make him proud and I'd make enough money for him to pursue his dreams too. But John's dream was simpler than I thought it would be. He wanted to be a husband and a dad. As my brother got older and his career became much more stable, he started thinking about building a family of his own. I was thrilled for him and supported him in his search for the perfect woman. I knew that he deserved to find happiness and love. One day, John asked me to go on a dinner with him and Lila, a woman he had met through a dating app. They had been dating for a while at that point, and even talked about the possibility of getting married. I knew that this was something serious, and John seemed to have found someone special. From the moment he introduced her to me, I could see how much they were attracted to each other. She was smart and funny, and she had a very successful career as a journalist. Over dinner, Lila and I started to like each other a lot, until the topic of my education came up. So Lilith, which university did you go to? Oh, I actually didn't graduate high school. Really? Yes, I had some difficult circumstances in my life at that time. Oh, I see. Well, my family is all academics who place a high value in education. I don't think I could understand your choices. Lila, come on. Lilith has achieved a lot in her life. She's a hard worker and has overcome a lot of challenges. That's okay, John. I'm not saying Lilith is not a hard worker, but education is important. It's the foundation for success. I understand that, but education isn't the only way to be successful. I'm happy with where I am in my life. I just find it hard to believe that you didn't finish high school. It's just a basic level of education. I mean, what kind of job opportunities could you possibly have without even a high school diploma? Please, Lila, let's talk about this another time, all right? I'm not trying to be rude, Lilith, but I just can't imagine not finishing high school. It's just a fundamental part of a person's career. Lila, that's enough. My brother seemed visibly disappointed. So Lila stopped talking and smiled at me. She tried to explain that she just had a very honest personality, and sometimes she would overshare her opinions. I told her it was okay, but deep down, I felt like something was wrong. The rest of the evening felt really uneasy for me, and I just wanted to go home. I never talked to my brother about what I felt, because I didn't want to ruin his new relationship. It took him so long to find someone he wanted to settle down with. But somehow, John's always got my back. A few days later, I accidentally overheard his conversation with Lila. When they were in the living room, they thought I had gone to bed. Lila, we need to talk about Lilith. What about Lilith? I've noticed that you don't seem to respect her very much. What are you talking about? You know exactly what I'm talking about. Do you look down on her because she didn't graduate high school? I do not. That's not true. I know you, Lila. The way you talk to her and treat her, something is off. And it's not okay. Lilith is my only family. Our parents passed away years ago. She's been there for me through everything. And if you can't respect her, then I don't think we can get married. John, you can't be serious. I didn't mean to offend you or Lilith. I just think that education is important. I know education is important, but Lilith has faced a lot of challenges in her life. She struggled with mental health issues, and she's had to work hard just to get by. But she's still one of the most intelligent and compassionate people I know, and I won't stand for anyone disrespecting her. John, it's not that big of a deal, okay? Why don't you just relax? Lila, I need you to take this seriously. It is a big deal to me. Do you understand? Then they quickly fell into silence, and I couldn't help but feel really bad for both of them. I didn't want to be the reason why they had a fight. So I tried to be really nice to Lila, hoping that she would come to like and accept me more. After all, She was my brother's partner, and I wanted her to be happy too. Days passed by, and it seemed like my effort was really paying off. Lila arranged a part-time job for me at a nice publishing company that belonged to one of her relatives. She said that she wanted to help with my skills, and I gladly agreed. The new job was not exactly like what I expected because most people weren't nice to me. They always asked me to get them coffee and kept me away from doing the actual writing tasks. But I couldn't give up. I knew I needed to be resilient and determined. Luckily, I soon got to work with Valeria, who was a very successful and kind-hearted editor. She liked my writing a lot, so she always gave me meaningful and interesting tasks. She had a very beautiful smile, and every time she looked at me, I felt strangely comforted. It was as if she was family. Even though we hadn't known each other for a long time, she quickly became one of my best friends. And as for my brother and Lila, they soon got engaged. They started planning their wedding in a fancy venue, and I couldn't be happier for them. It really seemed like things were going well for all of us. Or so I thought. One day, I was assigned so many last-minute tasks at work that I had to stay up really late for them. I decided to go downstairs for some midnight snacks. I tried to be as quiet as I could because I didn't want to bother John or Lila. Suddenly, there was a very quiet voice coming from the kitchen. Almost immediately, I heard my name. Oh, that little girl Lilith? She would not last a year at that company, I'm telling you. Mom, do you really think that I would let such a stupid chick ruin my marriage? Of course not. It was Lila's voice. But the way she talked about me was completely shocking. We might have had our differences, but she had never been so rude and mean to me before. I really had thought she was just a sweet, honest, and lovable woman. I was so stunned, I couldn't even move. Mom, don't you worry, okay? People at work wouldn't like her. I already asked them to give her just the most stupid task. She wouldn't learn a thing. But she needs to be there at least after the wedding. John really likes it when I take care of her. At this point, I couldn't listen anymore. So I went to my room and locked the door. It turned out that Lila had hated me all along, and she was just trying to win my brother over. I wanted to tell John what happened, but I didn't know if I could. He was so in love with Lila. The next day, I quit the job at the publishing company and was determined to make it on my own. I didn't want to rely on Lila or John anymore. They had their own lives, and I didn't want to be their burden. All I wanted was for John to be happy and to make his dreams come true. Upon finding out that I quit my job, Lila's mom called me up and asked to meet me in person. I remembered the conversation that they had about me, which still hurt me a lot at that point. But I tried my best to keep calm so that I could still hear her out. Lila's mom invited me to a very nice coffee shop in the city, where she introduced herself as Mrs. Han. Lilith, I heard you have quit your job at the publishing company? Yes, Mrs. Han. I don't want to be a burden to anyone. Oh dear, what a thoughtful woman you are. That's exactly why I want to meet up with you today. Really? Yes, absolutely. You see, our family is all successful journalists, lawyers, and businessmen. It's not a good look on your brother to be seen with someone like you. You mean someone who had not graduated from high school? Yes, exactly. What are you trying to tell me? It's about your brother's wedding. I know you are excited to be a part of it, but I think it might be better if you didn't attend. What do you mean? Well, your education level isn't quite up to par with the other guests. I'm afraid you might embarrass your brother and the rest of the family. I'm sorry, but I don't understand. I don't think my education level has anything to do with the fact that I'm his sister and his only family. If you are indeed his family, you should choose to do the things that are best for him. Think about it, Lilith. He'd never ask you to do such a thing. No, he wouldn't. But you know that is the right thing to do. At that moment, I could feel my heart sink. I never wanted to be a burden to my brother. And if I were to embarrass him on the most important day of his life, I would never forgive myself. The wedding was only a few days away. I needed to make up my mind. I couldn't bring myself to tell my brother what had happened. I was ashamed and embarrassed, and I didn't want him to see me that way. So instead, I decided to take a trip alone. I didn't have any particular destination in mind. I just needed to get away. I told my brother I was attending a training program, just so he wouldn't be worried. As I wandered through unfamiliar towns and cities, I tried to forget about what had happened. But it was always there, in the back of my mind, haunting me. I felt lost and alone, with nowhere to run. Just when I was at my worst, Valeria found out that I had quit. I don't know when or how she found out, but it didn't matter. She immediately called me up to check on me, and I could hear the concern in her voice. It was like a lifeline, pulling me back to reality. At first, I didn't want to tell her what had happened. I was afraid of being judged or being seen as weak. But eventually, I couldn't keep it in any longer. I told her everything, every last detail, just to get it off my chest. Valeria listened patiently, without interrupting or judging me. And when I was done, she didn't offer any quick fixes or easy solutions. Instead, she simply told me that she was there for me no matter what. At that moment, I finally felt like I could handle this. On the next day, I decided to return home from my trip. I had a whole plan in mind. I'd have to speak to my brother and let him know of what happened. Even though this was really difficult for me, I decided he deserved to know the truth. Lila and I were his family, and I trusted that families should never hide anything like that from each other. To my surprise, when I was opening the door of my place, my brother was just heading out. John had a suitcase and a backpack, as if he was going on vacation somewhere. I was shocked. Wasn't he supposed to be getting ready for his wedding? I didn't even have time to react because John immediately gave me a big bear hug as he exclaimed, "Lilith, I'm so glad you're home. We were so worried about you." "John, I'm glad I'm home too. Sorry for worrying you and Lila. Lilith, thank God you're here. We are this close to catching a plane to come get you." "Valeria, what are you doing here?" I was surprised to see Valeria walking out from the kitchen with her mini suitcase. It seemed like she was the one who was worried about me, not Lila. "What do you think I'm doing? I had to tell John what's up with that nasty family." "Wait, you told him what happened? John, I'm so sorry I couldn't tell you earlier. It's okay, I get it. It was a tough situation for you. I'm the one who should apologize, though. I could never imagine something like that. Alright, now that you're home and safe, I'll give you two some space, okay? Valeria gave me and John a reassuring smile before dragging her suitcase out the door. I was so grateful for her. She was looking out for me when I couldn't even look out for myself. As I sat down to talk to John, I finally found out what had happened within just one crazy day. It turned out that my brother had canceled his engagement with Lila because he just couldn't trust her anymore after what happened. It was heartbreaking to see him go through that, but I knew it was for the best. I just wished I could have been there for him more. After a few months, I started traveling and writing. I figured that going to a new place had helped me so much, so I was confident that it would inspire my writing too. I started working on a new project, a romance book that I hoped would teach young girls about healthy and honest relationships. It was a topic that was close to my heart, and I poured my heart and soul into it. Finally, after months of hard work, I managed to publish my book. Now, a few years after that incident, I have had 4 top-selling romance books. I was working on the 5th one. And you guessed it, my brother is seeing Valeria now. The 3 of us would hang out with each other whenever I'm back home from my trips, and they make me laugh all the time. I'm so happy that things turned out perfectly, and I can't wait for what the future